When a crime shakes the nation, the spotlight usually stays fixed on the accused. But sometimes, the most revealing clues come from the shadows, from the people who never chose to be part of the story. Until now. Tonight, the family of the accused shooter's partner is breaking their silence. Not to defend the crime. Not to rewrite the facts. But to offer a glimpse into a relationship, a digital world, and a series of decisions that investigators and the public are still trying to understand. Before we break this down carefully and responsibly, take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe for in-depth true crime analysis you won't find anywhere else. And as you watch, comment your thoughts below. Do these family statements clarify the case? Or do they raise even more questions? Also, let me know where you're watching from, because this case is being followed far beyond one courtroom. This case centers on the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk, an incident that unfolded in broad daylight at Utah Valley University, sending shockwaves far beyond the campus itself. Authorities have charged Tyler Robinson in connection with the shooting. Prosecutors allege he acted alone, and law enforcement has repeatedly stated they are confident they have the right suspect in custody. Robinson is now moving through the court system, with critical hearings that could shape the direction of the case. But as the legal process unfolds, attention has shifted away from the accused and towards someone who has remained largely out of public view. That person is Robinson's roommate and romantic partner, a figure who, according to investigators, was in communication with Robinson immediately after the shooting. For weeks, questions about his role, his whereabouts, and his silence have circulated online. The partner at the center of this discussion is Lance Twigs, the roommate and romantic partner of the accused, Tyler Robinson. According to law enforcement, Lance was not present at the shooting itself. However, his significance in this case stems from what happened immediately after. Investigators have confirmed that Lance was in direct communication with Robinson in the moments following the attack. Text messages that have since become part of the public record. In criminal investigations, proximity isn't measured only in distance. It's measured in access, timing, and knowledge. As Robinson's partner and roommate, Lance occupied a position of unusual closeness. He shared a private living space, an online world, and, according to family members, a deeply insular lifestyle rooted in gaming and digital communities. Law enforcement has not named Lance as a suspect. He has not been charged, and officials have not publicly alleged that he assisted in planning or carrying out the crime. Still, his role remains central not because of what authorities accuse him of, but because of what he may have known, when he may have known it, and how he responded once the crime had already occurred. In an exclusive interview, a member of Lance Twigs' family agreed to speak publicly, though she chose not to show her face, citing ongoing safety concerns and the intensity surrounding the case. Her words were not defensive. They were reflective. She described both Lance and Tyler as highly intelligent, deeply talented, and full of unrealized potential. Lance, she said, was a gifted pianist, someone whose ability stood out as exceptional, even from a young age. Tyler, too, was described as smart and capable, making the outcome of this case, in her words, a shame. But the most telling portion of her account wasn't about talent. It was about withdrawal. She spoke of a gradual drift away from the real world, explaining that both men spent much of their time immersed in online gaming and Discord communities. According to her, this digital environment shaped how they communicated, how they related to others, and even how they processed serious events. When asked about the text messages exchanged after the shooting, messages many have labeled strange, or emotionally detached, she pushed back on the idea that they were abnormal. In her view, this was simply how they spoke within that online culture. Her comments didn't attempt to explain the crime itself. Instead, they offered context that complicates how the public interprets behavior that, on the surface, feels unsettling. From an investigative standpoint, family statements like these serve a very specific purpose. They don't establish facts. They don't alter charges. But they humanize behavior that might otherwise be misread. The family members account consistently emphasizes three themes: intelligence, isolation, and immersion in a digital world. For analysts, this raises an important caution. Social withdrawal and online intensity are descriptive traits, not predictors of violence. It's also critical to separate emotional framing from legal relevance. When family members speak about lost potential or cultural misunderstandings, they are often responding to public outrage, not to courtroom standards. What stands out most is what the family did not claim. They did not say Lance knew about the attack in advance. They did not claim he helped plan or conceal anything. They did not allege misconduct by investigators. Instead, their focus remained on explaining behavior after the crime, particularly communication that appears cold or unusual to outsiders. For investigators, this doesn't close questions, but it reframes them. The issue becomes not whether the messages feel strange, but whether they demonstrate intent, awareness, or obstruction. And based on what has been publicly shared so far, that line has not been crossed. In modern criminal cases, text messages often carry enormous weight not because of what they say explicitly, but because of how they are interpreted. The messages exchanged between Tyler Robinson and Lance Twigs after the shooting have drawn intense scrutiny. Observers have described them as emotionally distant, oddly casual, even unsettling given the gravity of what had just occurred. But context is everything. According to Lance's family, this style of communication was normal within their shared digital world. Gaming culture and Discord-based interactions often rely on shorthand, detachment, and an almost performative lack of emotion. What reads as indifference to one audience may function as routine language to another. From a legal perspective, tone alone is not evidence. Prosecutors look for indicators of planning, evasion, or coordination, not merely awkward phrasing or cultural mismatch. Without language suggesting foreknowledge or an attempt to avoid law enforcement. These messages remain contextual rather than incriminating. That doesn't mean they're irrelevant. It means their value depends entirely on what surrounds them. And so far, what surrounds them is still incomplete. Another element that has fueled public speculation is Lance Twigs' sudden disappearance from the public eye following the shooting. Early reports suggested he was under some form of FBI protection due to threats and understandable precaution given the intensity of attention surrounding the case. According to the family, that protection is no longer in place, and Lance has since relocated out of state. He has also retained legal counsel to navigate interactions with investigators. From an investigative perspective, this sequence of events is routine. High-profile cases often require temporary relocation for safety. And securing an attorney is standard practice when anyone has potential information relevant to a criminal investigation. Rumors that Lance was hiding, in witness protection, or avoiding justice are misleading. What is factual is that he remains cooperative with law enforcement, maintaining a degree of privacy appropriate for his role in the investigation. This period of relative silence is less about guilt and more about procedure. Protection and the legal realities of being connected to a serious criminal case. As with many high-profile cases, the public and online communities have filled in gaps, with speculation sometimes creating elaborate theories about Lance Twigs' role, potential conspirators, or even alleged government involvement. These theories thrive for a reason: the combination of a shocking crime, a young accused, mysterious post-event behavior, and limited public information creates a vacuum. When details are scarce, the human mind seeks patterns, often exaggerating connections that may not exist. From an investigative standpoint, these narratives are interesting sociologically but legally insignificant. Investigators and prosecutors rely strictly on evidence, verified communications, and witness testimony, not social media conjecture. The key takeaway is this: public speculation can cloud perception, but it cannot determine outcomes. Understanding that distinction is crucial for anyone following the case responsibly. This underscores why statements from the family are so valuable. They provide context without speculation, offering insight into the behaviors and environment of the individuals involved. From a courtroom standpoint, the family statements add context, but they do not alter the legal case against Tyler Robinson. Prosecutors remain focused on evidence directly tied to the shooting itself, including eyewitness testimony, forensic findings, and Robinson's own communications. The defense, however, may attempt to use these statements to humanize Lance Twigs or to suggest that the environment Robinson was immersed in influenced his behavior. While this could shape narratives in the media or even subtly influence jury perception, it does not provide legal grounds for dismissing charges or altering the case. Additionally, there are ongoing procedural developments. The defense has filed motions alleging potential conflicts of interest within the prosecution team, arguing that emotional proximity such as the prosecutor's child witnessing the crime could bias the case. How courts respond to these motions remains to be seen. But these legal maneuvers highlight that strategy in high-profile cases extends beyond the evidence itself. The family's statements clarify certain behavioral patterns and motivations but do not directly change the charges, the evidence, or the court's assessment of guilt. They are, instead, an important piece of context for understanding the broader story surrounding this tragedy. Even with the family speaking out, several critical questions remain unanswered. Motives and triggers. Investigators are still piecing together why Tyler Robinson committed the shooting, and whether any influences from his relationship with Lance or their shared digital environment played a role. Digital communication context. While text messages have been released, authorities need to fully understand the timing, intent, and implications of these communications. Were they merely casual, or did they indicate knowledge or coordination? The partner's awareness and actions. Lance Twigs' role immediately after the shooting is still under examination. While he is cooperating with investigators, understanding exactly what he knew and when remains a focus. Public theories versus evidence. Social media speculation continues to outpace verified information, making it challenging for the public to separate rumor from fact. In true crime, unanswered questions are often as significant as confirmed details. They shape the investigation, the courtroom strategy, and public perception. For anyone following this case, keeping these questions in mind helps maintain a fact-based perspective and prevents jumping to conclusions before all evidence is reviewed.